So I have just got back from the track here at Melbourne. Both Thursday and Friday were really cool. So happy that we've finally now got some actual running to talk about, and I got to see a couple of Formula 1 drivers on the Melbourne Walk and a few team principals too, as well as watching some FP1s, some qualies and some races for the Porsche Super Cup. But since the season is now finally underway, I thought I'd start a new series of race predictions / race preview videos on the channel. So if you're new here, welcome, my name is Chris, and these are my AUS GP previews and predictions. Before we look at this year, let's do a quick recap of what happened last year. Pole position was set by Max Verstappen with a 1:15.915. Unfortunately, about 2 laps into the race, he had an engine failure and the back of his car basically blew up, which promoted the returning Carlos Sainz to P1, who drove a fantastic race to come back and win. This was just 1 week after having his appendix removed as well. So here's hoping that James Vowles hasn't got any last-minute invasive surgery planned for Carlos in the hope of getting Williams a podium this weekend. Joining Carlos on the podium was his teammate Charles Leclerc and his boyfriend Lando Norris. We saw both Mercedes cars DNF and both Haas cars score points. Now for this year, I'll start with practice from today. Unfortunately, Ollie Behrman caused quite an early red flag with a pretty nasty crash in the turn 9 in 10 chicane. Fortunately, that's where I was sat, so I got a really nice view of it, and thankfully Ollie was okay, but the car was pretty wrecked and he wasn't able to make it up for FP2, unfortunately. The Williams cars are both looking very strong. They seem really planted. I sat at a few different spots throughout the track and the cars are looking really hooked up. Carlos in particular, I feel like he is more of the team leader. I know he's new to the team, but coming in as a 4-time race winner, I think no one's expecting Alex to be leading that team. And Carlos has shown that already with a P2 finish in FP1. Yes, it's just practice, and yes, they could be doing some glory runs, but I don't think they're doing that. I think they could genuinely be not podium contenders, but certainly in the points this weekend. Reigning champion Max Verstappen had a few little excursions, a couple of odd lockups, and even a trip into the gravel at one point, with teammate Liam Lawson much the same, even clipping the wall at one point, showing that that Red Bull car is certainly not as hooked up as it has been the last few years. The session was ended a few minutes early when George Russell had a little spin and just clipped the barriers, leaving not enough time to get the cars back on track. FP2 saw much of the same, with drivers like Nico Hülkenberg, Pierre Gasly, Lance Stroll all having trips across the gravel and Lance doing some lawn mowing at one point. FP2 finished with Leclerc in first, Piastri second and Lando Norris in third position. So we did see quite a few drivers going off, and it was a similar story, particularly in Formula 2. Lindblad, Alex Dunn and Oliver Goethe all had some sort of spinning crash as well. This could maybe be season opener nerves, or maybe just a bit rusty from having the off-season not driving these cars for a while. Hopefully tomorrow for FP3 and qualifying we won't see as many cars binning it, because that's not what we're here to see. Now let's go into my predictions for this year's race. In pole position, any guesses? Of course, it's Lando Norris in the McLaren. The McLaren looked to be the strongest car, at least in the second half of last year, and as well in testing, the car was looking very strong. And judging by practice today, it looks like they're going to be at least somewhere near the top. And if it is going to be one of the McLaren cars on top, you can't help but put your money on Lando with the qualifying record that Oscar has. Saturday is also meant to be a very hot day, so that all but rules out the Mercedes cars. They don't seem to do well in hot temperatures at all. The Red Bull cars look to be struggling, so I'm not really expecting them to be up there. I mean, Max might steal a P2 or P3, who knows? As for the Ferraris, I'm expecting them to be maybe a tenth or two behind the McLarens. I don't think there's going to be much in it. I mean, Charles, probably the best qualifier on the grid. He might steal pole position, but I'm backing Lando Norris. I'm also going to be predicting a winner and binner of the week. Now, that's not necessarily who wins the race. It's just a driver that exceeds expectations. Think of it basically like driver of the day, but for legal reasons I can't call it driver of the day. My winner for this week is going to be Isaac Hadjar. Now, honestly, before the season started, I wasn't expecting much from Isaac, but I've been watching him in interviews and he seems really quite funny. And I like that in a driver. Like, I loved Danny Rick, I always thought he was really funny. And honestly, in practice today, he did look quite good. I think he beat Yuki in FP1. And I feel like that Racing Bulls car looks sort of quietly confident. I mean, who knows where they're going to place, but yeah, my winner is going to be Isaac Hadjar. And my binner of the week, this is maybe a bit cheating because he's already binned it once, but I'm going for Ollie Behrman. I feel like coming into this year, I know he's had a few Grand Prix, but this is his full rookie season. I feel like the crash he's had today is really going to knock his confidence, and I just feel like he's not going to have a good race weekend. And yeah, I think Ocon's going to be feeling a lot more comfortable in that car. That car doesn't look particularly easy to drive, but Ocon's been driving midfield cars his whole career, so I think Ocon's going to have the edge. So my winner of the week is going to be Ollie Behrman. Sorry, Ollie, I love you. My top 3 race finishers. In P3, I'm putting Charles Leclerc. As I said, Ferrari looked to be a very strong team, and again, P2 in the Constructors last year, you're expecting them to be fighting at the top again. And in the teammate battle between Charles and Lewis, I'd probably expect Charles to come out on top just because he's so much more used to the car. And Lewis has a bit of a rocky record at this circuit. I think he's had 8 pole positions, but only 2 wins. So for a driver that had such a dominant car for so many years, the fact that Lewis has only won twice around here, I mean, I think Silverstone he's won like 9 times, Hungary he's won 8 times. So only having 2 race wins at a circuit is really bad for Lewis. So I'm putting Charles in P3. For P2, I'm going for Lando Norris. Yes, I do expect him to get pole, but not win the race. Lando's race starts have been relatively poor. I think he certainly knows that. So I'm thinking that maybe he gets beaten off the line, and Albert Park's quite difficult to overtake on. So if he does get a bad start and lose out, then maybe he doesn't get back past, or there's some strategy, or who knows, but Lando Norris is in P2. So who have I got to win the race? Now, I don't know if it's just because I'm here in Melbourne, feeling the support of the local fans, but I am backing the home hero. My race winner is Jack Doohan. It's not Jack Doohan, no, it's Oscar Piastri, obviously. Oscar's biggest struggle is in qualifying up against Lando. His tyre management isn't as good as it could be too, and his race pace maybe isn't as good as Lando's, but I think with Oscar going into this year, knowing that he could fight for the title, he's got 2 years under his belt, I think he's going to be coming in arms swinging. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he just chucks it up the inside of Lando at turn 1 and hopes that Lando gets out of his way, sort of like he did at Monza last year at turn 3 and 4. So that is my race winner, Oscar Piastri in the McLaren. So a weather update for Sunday. 90% chance of rain. Well, you know what that means. As well, do let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm going to be keeping track of how many predictions I get right and how many I get wrong. What I thought would be fun to do is pick one comment from each video in the predictions as my sort of rival for that week. And then at the end of the year, we'll see if I got more predictions right or if you guys got more predictions right. But if you guys get more predictions right than I do at the end of the year, I'll do something like get Haas tattooed across my forehead, or I'll dye my hair pink, or whatever's the funniest thing that you guys can come up with, that's what I'll do if you beat me. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you're new here, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I've got a bunch of content coming out from the AUS GP.